All right, I'm hanging out with VIZOR. That's VIZOR VIZOR, and Jeff, Director of Sales or something like that. I was just trying to figure out what your title is.
You
We're
and me
hanging out
both.
with Jeff for a few minutes. Jeff, how's it going?
Very well, Chris. Thanks so much. Yeah, I appreciate you having us. Yeah, I remember the part of the title has to do with emerging technologies and sales, and we all wear lots of hats here. We're kind of a small shop, so we wear lots of hats, and we have a little bit of trouble
Yeah,
answering the
I like
question.
it.
What is your title?
In K-12 tech departments, you'll get like technology director, and then you'll
Hmm.
get director of technology,
Right.
and then you'll get some that are like director of innovation and technology.
Yeah.
And I just say, hey, I'm the tech guy. Like
That's
it's
right.
it's it's whatever.
Yeah, and
So
there's similar to that, right? The districts, the tech teams at districts are those are small teams, right? So everybody's got to wear
yeah,
multiple
it's
hats. It's
whatever.
pretty tough to pigeonhole somebody with one single title. So,
My sysadmin Matt is also the esports coach. Like it's
oh,
fine.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
whatever.
nice. Yeah,
So
exactly.
we have enjoyed the Visor partnership sponsorship. I mean, we're a couple years into that, and we plug Visor all throughout the year. You guys are hanging out with us for all of 2025, but I wanted to check in. Just what's going on with Visor? What's new with Visor? Can you fill us in?
Yeah, well, lots of big changes, right? We're all operating under kind of an interesting time, right? I think there's lots of, well, you guys have talked about the uncertainty in the climate and things
Yeah.
like that. So we're trying to address that as much as possible. I think an overarching theme for us since the end of last year, where we introduced three really big changes to Visor. Um, uh, so that's kind of probably one of the most exciting things. Those three big changes, and then kind of an eye towards what's coming, and really, like I say, with an overarching sort of eye on what do we do to help in these challenging times, right? Like this is there's a lot of economic, financial, uncertainty, change, challenges, I guess, is what
Hmm.
people are facing. So we're just doing the best that we can, or really trying to keep that in mind and adapt to those challenges and changes.
Yeah, we were talking before I hit the record button about you were with us and Dean was with us at Midwest Tech Talk in July,
Mhm.
uh, and got to meet some of the customers that you guys already have. Uh, but I like that you're being mindful of those guys and that we're facing some financial uncertainties. And you're also trying to shape up some things, of course, to get more people on board. So you talked about some changes. Would you unpack some of those changes with me?
Yeah, yeah. So the three big ones for us, again, kind of having to do with the sort of let's do more with less, on top of all the features and functionality, which I know a lot of your audience, Chris, are already familiar with, just because of that longstanding partnership that we've had with K-12 Tech Talk. So these big changes kind of stem from that overarching theme that I mentioned. So the first one is sort of a relaunch, I think, of the Visor platform, which now includes a full help desk module, let's say.
Okay.
So it's the second side of the same coin. So asset management is kind of where we've really focused. But a lot of districts started coming to us with a need for a help desk, and kind of talking about multiple vendors and the challenge of having to sort of work with multiple vendors. So our new offering, Visor for Schools, now includes obviously what everybody knows is the device management, student Chromebook management, and all the features that go along with that, but with also a fully functional help desk system. So it's a system that's specifically geared towards K-12. It's kind of a product that's been sitting on our shelf for a well, not sitting on our shelf. It's a product that we've had for a long
Yeah.
time. Bit of a kind of a crown jewel for us. It was really a stable has been, but never really on the education side. What we did was originally, when launching education well over a decade now ago, we included a repair management system, right? A very big and important part of Chromebook
Hmm.
management is the management of the repairs, that part of the life cycle. But we weren't including the full help desk system, which had and allowed for tracking and managing tickets of all kinds. So now that's included with the product. So now we've got this sort of full product that includes the Visor service desk. So the service desk, though, is focused specifically for K-12. So we took that product product that was sort of enterprise focused, and we've really focused it in on K-12. So K-12 workflows, K-12 process automation, the ability to use the help desk tool within the school to do things like ticket assignment. There's some really cool features in there for schools as well. I shouldn't go too far on this point, but there it is. There's just a ton of features inside of the help
Yeah,
desk
well,
product
and
for
it's
schools.
interesting too. We talk about it on K-12 Tech Pro. It's kind of a little bit of a running joke. One of the most asked questions on any K-12 Tech email list or forum is what's everybody using for a work order system?
Right.
Because everyone's kind of looking for that great solution. Uh, so I like that you guys are getting into that game because we know that you do asset management well. And again, it's not like you're not new to that game.
No,
You've
no,
just
we're
kind of
taking
polished it off again.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking something that's existed for, gosh, that was I don't want to sort of age myself here, but this is when I started. This product was around. So we're talking 25 years ago that we were working on that product. All we've done there is just tailor it towards K-12. So
Yeah.
very specific workflows, the ability to assign tickets to technicians or resources, facilities and management
That's
people.
what I was gonna say. Am I right? It can be used for facilities for maintenance guys too.
Exactly right. Yeah. So you can leverage that again, the multiple vendor challenge that a lot of districts are facing. This sort of narrows that gap too.
Okay.
We'll talk about why it makes sense in this case too, and just in terms of licensing, which is one of the other changes. But yeah, the ability to leverage the system and be able to use it across departments, which makes purchasing a little bit easier, which makes
Yeah.
justification a little bit easier. It's great. And so there's lots of different features in there. Again, specific to schools, that's one of them. The assignment of tickets based on workload or skill set or just department or depending on the type of ticket that VIZOR's looking at, it will automatically
Okay.
assign it to the correct resource, which is a pretty cool spot. Chargebacks of repairs to families and things like that. VIZOR's got a ton of intelligence in it there to allow for both the calculation of the cost, but also to determine for the district whether or not that's a cost that should be passed on to
Nice.
the family, and that can be based on insurance. It can be based on the number of times that particular student has submitted issues before of a certain type, like user initiated. So there's all kinds of intelligence and sort of automation in there. Again, trying to make this as easy as possible for districts and allow them to do more with less. I know that's there's a bingo card right there, but
Yeah, I like it.
yeah, it's important for us. So that's kind of the first big change.
Okay. What
Um,
else you got?
yeah, the second one has to do with, again, that same sort of theme, but we've got kind of a lower cost entry level type version of VIZOR. I don't want to make that sound like we're removing any major functionality, but what it is we call it VIZOR Essentials, and this particular platform removes that help desk. So for anybody who's still just interested in IT asset management, doesn't want to pay the extra cost, which is still very reasonable,
Hmm.
but doesn't want to pay that, it's a very, very significant decrease in cost. It's almost a 40% delta or a 40% savings essentially for anybody who's really just focusing on IT asset management. So that's kind of what we call VIZOR Essentials. It's a really, really cool option for schools that already have a help desk in place. So there's a real significant upgrade or an easy upgrade path to
Yeah.
including help desk. So one of the things that we've done for some districts recently is just turn on help desk, allow them to start using it and seeing it while they're still under contract with a different help desk, giving them an opportunity to compare and decide whether or not that's a path that they want to take advantage of, the upgrade path to the full system. But it's still got lots of great features, kind of what our sort of bread and butter has been, I guess, over the last 6 or 7 years. So all the same sort of Google integration and barcoding, checking in and checking out, student information system integration, the whole asset inventory and all that stuff.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
Yeah.
You have one more thing. Is that right?
Yeah, the third big one is the pricing. So this really does focus exactly in on that, Chris, just in terms of making things easier. So what we've done is we've kind of simplified the pricing to the best of our ability, and that's based on one single number, and that's student enrollment. So the complexity that we were dealing with districts and trying to discuss what are prices going to look like next year, how many assets are we managing, how many technicians are we having working on tickets, how many facilities and maintenance team members are working on work orders. All of those questions go away with our new pricing model. We make it super easy,
Nice. Yep.
unlimited. Yeah, it's just based on student enrollment. And the cool thing too is that a lot of the districts that we're working with, they have easily they have a, you know, a good forecast of what's coming, right? So they know what their current enrollment is. They have anticipation for either growth or decline in student enrollment the following year. So we simply true up, you know, we ask them to sort of give us an idea as to what they think enrollment is going to be, cover that number, the lowest that you possibly can, and then we'll just true up if we need to increase the cost, you know, the licensing for the subsequent year, we can do that. And if not, then we don't have to, or if we drop the number, then we drop the number. So we just try to simplify that as much as possible. I think you probably know if you're going to a, you know, a super or BA and you're trying to say, you know, this is what I'm looking at purchasing, having a very, very simple way to sort of deliver that kind of purchase request, I think is pretty helpful.
Yeah, right. We're actually, I'm as many schools are, we're getting ready to do all these budget talks, and it's those aren't fun talks. Those are
Yeah.
hard talks. And we know that prices for most products or most services change,
Hmm.
and there can be this natural but doesn't feel natural progression of the cost keeps going up, the cost keeps going up. Uh, so love that VIZOR's trying to unpack, acknowledging that we're K-12, that sometimes we put things together with duct tape, and our budget doesn't hit the same as what business sector might. So love that you guys are identifying that and trying to work with that, and not do this, you know, year to year raise the prices. Even, you know, I'll have two where I make an account for one person. They don't use the product as much,
Mm.
but I love that they have an account. But man, if you're charging me for that particular user, I'm going to trim that thing out. So I love that you guys have this formula to make it not so difficult to figure out.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure.
I've had some good conversations about asset management, inventory. If you don't have this in place already, and you're like, well, I don't have a budget line for that. I think a lot of schools can look at how much loss they're having in devices,
Hmm.
and if those devices could be recovered, what that savings is, and that's where you can have a great conversation with your boss about that's what validates the cost of VIZOR because we're
Yeah.
going to lose X amount of devices less. We're saving money over on this side actually when it all plays out.
Yeah, 100%.
So cool. So I mean, is there anything else? Are we missing anything else with VIZOR?
Well, I mean, we talked about kind of the idea of financials and sort of you just addressed it. So I just want to kind of highlight that because
Yeah.
it is important. I think there's a lot of folks, a lot of districts that are dealing with that sort of price creep, kind of year over year price increases. We don't do that. So it's something that we talk about in just about every conversation we have recently is how important it is for us to make this as simple as possible from an economy standpoint, right? Like to make this financial as simple as possible. So we don't raise our prices. We have an absolute obligation to not raise our prices by more than 2% any year. And we haven't raised our prices in over 5 years. In fact, and I don't want to speak for the rest of the industry, but I'm pretty sure that there's
Yeah.
not too many that are doing what we're doing. And that's we haven't had a price increase in over 5 years. And in fact, the only price change we've had is a price drop because of what we just introduced at the end of last year. So almost across almost every tier of our pricing level, the price is decreased for an increased value product offering. In other words, we're offering more at a lower price, and we're offering a much more, even lower than that, affordable entry level type solution that really just focuses on the very much essentials of what a
Yep.
district needs for asset management. So that was really important for us to be kind of, you know, stand out in the marketplace a little bit and really present ourselves as we're listening to what you guys are dealing with, right? We're aware of it. We're keeping it in top of mind and trying to make this as easy as possible for you guys to sort of, you know, jump in and benefit from. So yeah, that's kind of an important point that I wanted to hit
Yep.
with you, Chris, and with your listeners. The other one, then, just in terms of again, what you talked about there is the ability to justify a platform like VIZOR through a return on investment, like an actual return on investment. You mentioned a great example in terms of lost devices, tracking those, but also there's some really cool things that people are doing with VIZOR in terms of trends analysis.
Cool.
So there's a district that I was working with. They have, you know, let's just say 4 or 5 different schools. I think it's 5 schools, and they're all trying to lower their costs of repairs, and they're trying to introduce these new initiatives that they think might help in lowering the costs. And they're using VIZOR to analyze the results of those initiatives. So a month over month view of what type of repairs are we facing, which manufacturers' devices are costing us the most,
Yeah.
which school is kind of doing the best, whose initiative has proven useful insofar as lowering the number of repairs month over month. How do we implement that initiative in the rest of the district? So lots of very cool analytics that VIZOR is drawing on to really allow for a very, very significant demonstrable return on investment for the districts that are using it. So that's pretty cool for us too.
Years ago, we had a particular Chromebook model that we felt like we didn't have a VIZOR in place at the time, right? We felt like we were having more issues at this particular building with this particular model with this particular screen.
Right.
But those were just feelings because we weren't tracking it well. And you're just kind of looking at each other when if you have VIZOR, you can just pull the report.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. That model, that building, that screen is happening. Look what it looks like compared to last year with a different model, same demographic. So you can pinpoint things down well. And I know that you guys do a great job with lost devices and working with Google Admin Console as well. Again, about device recovery, that kind of stuff too. Or we just had a kid come back that was gone. Tech department didn't necessarily know that he was even gone. I know VIZOR helps out with identifying students have multiple devices or not getting that return correct too.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, so students that are leaving the district or moving from one school to another, VIZOR allows. Well, certainly there's protocols and processes in place that through VIZOR that prevent schools from being able to allocate a second device to a student without sort of a justification. In other words, if the student brings the original device in for repair and that gets checked in, then you can check a second one out. That's an optional process protection in place. But yeah, that's an example of how VIZOR can certainly be used to mitigate that type of risk. Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of those. It's a lot of fun just kind of going through.
Yep.
One of my favorite things is just listening to districts and their different initiatives. Like there was one just kind of a cool, if you got time, Chris, it was a really neat one. A tech director was telling me about any student that gets to their third repair. We're going to put them in a frequent flyer OU, and that requires them to view a PowerPoint presentation followed by a quiz, and they have to get 8 out of the 10 questions correct on that quiz to get out of the frequent flyer OU, so that they can get back to being able to sort of use the non-essentials of the Chromebook, like games and stuff like that, or have access to certain privileges that they otherwise don't when they're in this sort of penalty box.
I have some teachers I'd like to put that in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Click
that's
in
not
that
limited
email.
to students. Yeah, I thought that was super cool. And again, they were using VIZOR, so VIZOR counts the number of times each student submits any device for repair. So VIZOR can automatically. They were using VIZOR to automatically place that student in that OU and then automatically send the PowerPoint presentation to the student, have them watch it.
Awesome.
And then they have to click a link in that same notification that VIZOR sent over so that they can try to pass that kind of exam on how to properly care for their device. So it's pretty cool. There's lots of really, really fun initiatives. Yeah, districts come up with all. That's why I love talking with them. You know what I mean? That's just, I hear all these things and I'm like, oh my God, VIZOR can help with that. And that's such a cool initiative. I love that. So yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I think Scott County has been mentioned, Tri-Valley, Stratford. I know that we did some links to like a case study with Stratford. So we can put a link in the podcast description to that.
Yeah, it's nice to see this kind of like this initiative, the kind of speak to financial constraints under which districts are working. It's nice to see that feed through to these new clients that you just mentioned. It's nice. We get lots of positive feedback from clients, and we're really trying to get this right in terms of making this as affordable and easy as possible for districts to come on board.
Great. I know that we can point listeners to vizor.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. That's VIZOR.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. Get a demo. I think you guys still give away a shirt and a hoodie with the podcast too if you take on a demo. So check that out. Jeff, is there anything else that you want to mention?
I appreciate that, Chris. Yeah, super quick. One of the big initiatives that we have is trying to get in front of as many people as possible this year, face to face. We're not trying, and when I say as many people as possible, we're trying to keep this focused. So We're not, I really want to get in front of people. We're trying to sponsor as many lunch and learns as we can. We'd really
Okay.
love to hear from directors that want to kind of, we'll come in with pizza if you guys are
Yep.
getting together, and we can come in and just tell you about what we have and listen to you, find out about what is it that you're facing? What can we be doing better for you? It's something that we want. So yeah, if you're listening out there and you want to talk more, VIZOR.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. Absolutely, we would love to hear from you.
Great. And VIZOR's buying pizza. Awesome.
We are buying pizza, and we'll bring some VIZOR visors.
I love that too. VIZORs. Love it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well, thanks,
absolutely.
Jeff. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes.
My pleasure, Chris. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time.